This is an Unearthly Podcast. This is our first live episode. I believe, Randy mentioned to me, I believe we're on episode 69. We did not check, so if it's 68 or 70, I do apologize. But
I think I remember.
Right.
I think I remember last week was 68. I think I remember hearing that. Is all I can say. It's Saturday night. I haven't slept since Wednesday morning, so bonus.
And for the sake of being safe with the con, is anybody below 18 for the sake of language and such? Okay. So I can say that Madam Faster would probably appreciate our episode number.
Yes. I don't think it's that. I mean, we're not showing boobies, so I don't think we have to worry about 18. Most people here can deal with stuff. It's not going to be any worse than what's on Adult Swim sometimes.
Yeah.
Only the lack of a censor.
Now, I don't think is anyone quite angry enough at the episode to go into a 1,000 F-bomb rant?
No. I am not going to break into Gordon Ramsay at any moment. I am, like I said, on a very lack of sleep, so I'm probably going to be a little raw tonight, but...
Yeah, we're all a bit tired. The convention's going on. You guys probably are used to that. Those at home might not be tired, but, we are at Geek.Kon 2014 for anyone watching the video not aware. And it's been a long day and a long convention. There's been a lot of things going on.
A lot of interesting, a lot of stuff happening.
There's been a lot of everything except sleep.
Yes. Every single time I have tried to get sleep, I have been interrupted. Not just that. This morning, I tried to go into bed at like 9 in the morning to get a couple hours before I had to go to stuff. What happens? Just when I start drifting off, room service! I am Bill Sylvia, also known as the Man in Black. We might as well introduce ourselves since we're in person. I'm Randy Ramson McCulloch. I'm the head of viewings for Geek.Kon. I'm also a Doctor Who fan since the early 80s. I am a writer and editor of fan fiction, also in the Doctor Who genre. And by this point, I can be listed as being a critic. I believe all of us on this panel can.
By the way, if any of you want to either follow more about the podcast or about me specifically, unfortunately I had an issue with Staples and couldn't get everyone business cards, but if you do want any information, feel free. If not, we won't be offended. Who wants to go? Introduce yourself next.
So I'm next. So
Yep.
I am Matt. I'm better known as Mad Matt or Mad Matt Inc., depending on where you look. I have been doing video reviews, I believe, since 2010. I got introduced to Doctor Who, I want to say 2004? No, it was 2005 when it first came out. And it was the second episode that I caught the tail half of.
If we're going over introduction to Doctor Who, I actually started watching the show, I'm thinking January of 2012, and have pretty much been picking it up very quickly since then. Randy's got a bit more experience than anyone else.
Yeah, I started watching on PBS in the early to mid 80s. It was 91 when I heard the original classic series had been canceled, and that was like the Black Day. And then I've always kind of kept the torch alive. Though I did kind of wander into other sci-fi fandoms for a while. I was a big Star Trek fan in the 90s, etc. But the second I heard Doctor Who was coming back, I was right back on that bus, and I've been riding it ever since. I have my issues, but, being a fan, there's stuff you like, there's stuff you think is crap.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Aaron Romeo Moon Burke. I do writing, I do artwork, I do video game streaming. I have a podcast called Lounge Leets, which we'll be doing a panel with tomorrow. We sit in the bars and taverns of various MMOs, and we talk about the games that we like to play, and do some role-playing, too. And I've been a fan of Doctor Who. I've watched it on PBS, watched reruns of Tom Baker and Peter Davison, and once Colin Baker came around, I kind of had a falling out with this series. I didn't quite like the tone of it or anything. The tone. Sylvester McCoy was just kind of a little weird.
So she missed out on Sylvester McCoy's best seasons as a result, which we're still trying to get her to watch.
Yeah, pretty much. So But,
For the record, my favorite classic Doctor. he beat out over, it was originally William Hartnell till I watched all of season 26.
You shall be assimilated.
But yeah,
Upgrading is compulsory.
But yeah, I also work in viewings under Randy. I'm actually in charge of a Otaku theater, which has gotten me back into the anime fandom, which I had kind of left for the video game fandom back in 2008. Felt that I'd kind of gotten a little too old to watch anime, but now I've kind of gone back into it again.
It's a drug.
Is that a thing to be too old to watch anime?
It is when you're 30 and people and everyone in the anime is talking about high school problems, and you're just like, I wish this was Cyber City. I wish this was the original Vampire Hunter D. That kind of thing. So.
True, if you end up in those kind of drama
It's
stuff,
a drug. You get out of it, it keeps sucking you back.
Yeah, you just need to find the right show.
Yeah.
Also, since we're talking about viewing heads, I am the other viewing head. I run the Eclectic Theater. It's strange movies, old movies, foreign movies, and also foreign TV shows. For instance, this last morning, we had Iron King, which is a giant robot-esque show based on the idea of Ultraman and produced by some of the same people. So they just went with what they knew.
And I'm been the head of Geek Cinema since it came out, so I'm in charge of all the sci-fi viewings. So all the Doctor Who that has been on the schedule in the last 3-4 years is me. I generally show the latest series of Doctor Who on the overnights between midnight and 6 a.m. Kind of hard to do this year, as between last con and this con, the total number of Doctor Who episodes can be counted on 2 fingers. So, since we're doing also comedy this year, I'm filtering it in with a little bit of Red Dwarf.
Which is also a good show.
So anything else we wanted to cover quick?
No. So that's our introduction. So
Okay.
we normally start off with a bit of a joke or a skit before going into our opening sequence. So this isn't going to be quite as well rehearsed as normal. As we've mentioned, we've been extremely busy, so we do have a script, but we'll have to be passing it back and forth between each other. Beyond
Also the fact that Bill's phone has decided it does not like the internet at all.
It does not. Well, it does. It apparently just does not like this hotel.
And my phone decided that it didn't like getting charged for a while because I kept unplugging it and running all over every place. So it's dead right now. Okay. We right at the top here?
Yeah.
All right. Right. I think I'll actually do this. No, Clara, the question is, what burns apart from dinosaurs?
Oh, me. Yes, Clara. More dinosaurs!
Wood. This is awkward.
Yes, it is. So why do dinosaurs burn?
Because they're made of wood?
Yeah, this is... Yeah. This is good. So how do we tell who else is made of wood?
Going that way.
Oh, we can build a bridge out of them!
Ah, but can you not also make bridges out of stone?
Oh,
He said, "Oh, so it makes you again."
Oh. Does wood sink in water? Yeah. This will probably be fixed in post.
Yes. Seriously? Over here if it's over here, for crying out loud. So it's me and then you.
You say no.
Yeah, I said it's me, then it's you, so we can actually get this in one go.
Yeah.
No.
Like I said, we've had no practice.
Now, because Randy was talking, we did it again, Aaron.
Yeah, try it one more time. Sorry. Like again, fix it in post.
No.
It floats.
What also floats in water?
Okay, so it's me, then Bill, then me again. Brett,
No.
Can you tell we're all very tired?
no, I'm trying to help to
Should
make
we
this
just
a
give
little
up
more...
on this now?
I think the joke is dead.
Yeah,
You've killed
it's
it.
dead.
It is an ex joke. It has ceased to be.
One person reading a different voice will be all good.
Yeah.
No, Claire, the question is what burns apart from dinosaurs? More dinosaurs! Smack. Wood! So why would dinosaurs burn? Oh, pause. Because they're made of wood? Good. So, how do we tell these are made of wood? Build a bridge out of them. Ah, but can't you build a bridge? Also build a bridge out of stew? And it just went black. I don't know how to bring it back to being black. Seriously, how many times does it happen?
Okay.
I know
It's officially an ex joke. It has ceased to be. It has took the light that
If you don't touch it, it assumes you're not reading.
If you keep hopping on this like that, then yes, it will be done. I might as well just toss the phone down. So please, silence.
We are professionals. Trust us. We do this. Normally. Intakes.
Yeah.
So why do dinosaurs burn? Because they're made of wood? Good. So what? So how do we tell who else is made of wood? Build a bridge out of them. Ah, but can't you also make bridges out of stone? Oh yeah. Does wood sink in water? No, it floats. What also floats in water? Bread, apples, cider, gravy, cherries, mud, a duck. Exactly. So logically, if they weigh the same as a duck, they're made of wood, and therefore, the next victim. And an A at the end.
Thank you for pointing out my terrible texting.
So
And for not breaking his phone.
That would have been an interesting thing.
Not very loud at all.
Yeah, I actually do that about every time we play the theme to the normal podcast. I actually start headbanging to it.
Can't see it right now.
So again, welcome guys to our first live episode. We are streaming live on August 24th, Volcano Day. It is the day after the opening of Deep Breath, which is our featured episode today. And yes, for those who didn't see the Fires of Pompeii quote floating around on Facebook, today is indeed Volcano Day, and it fits very well for Peter Capaldi's first appearance.
Very appropriate, very ironic.
So this will be a bit different than a normal podcast. Obviously, we have some guests here. If you guys have anything you wish to interject or, add to our discussion, feel free to go ahead. If you want to introduce yourselves or whatever, you're welcome to it. We don't exactly have a crowded room. It won't take much time if you wish to. As always, we start with the news. So we do have some news. Episode 2 and 3 official blurbs came out. They're pretty short, and it's pretty much been covered by other materials, so unless anyone particularly needs to see them, we probably won't go looking for them, but those were released by the BBC. There is a new title sequence that appeared in Deep Breath earlier today, which was originally made as a fan opening which Stephen Moffat then proceeded to decide that he really liked it, contact the fan, and have him make the new real opening.
Apparently, there were not that many differences from what we saw, except for the original version had the seal of Rassilon from the classic series, and Moffat was like, no.
Yeah, I noticed a few small touches at the very
I think there's
least.
also a few less clocks.
I don't know. There were
quite a lot
clocks.
of clocks.
I thought it was interesting that with the title sequence, it looked very steampunky. It had a very steampunk
True.
feel to me.
Which I think fits Deep Breath very well. I don't know if it fits the rest of the season as well.
I don't know. It kind of reminded me of, the movie where you had him in the TARDIS and the entire wall of clocks.
Okay.
My theory is that the wall that the TARDIS shook in the time vortex and all of those clocks fell and created an opening sequence.
My clocks! That could actually be what was going on at the last line in the end of the movie. Oh no.
This isn't really news anymore because it's a little too late to act on it, but it was a bit of news announced during this week. I guess there's so much demand for Deep Breath same-day screenings that they decided to have one at midnight tonight in select locations.
This wasn't one of them. We will be getting these screenings, I believe, on the 25th on Monday at Point Cinema. I would be going, except I expect to be dead on Monday. Not completely dead, just lying in bed twitching.
He will be an ex-Randy.
I will be regaining all the sleep I have lost this convention, which will probably total up to be about 24 hours worth.
So, our next bit of news is for the second year in a row, Doctor Who did not win at the Hugos thanks to Game of Thrones.
Killed them.
I'm
Killed
pretty
them with
sure.
fire.
I'm pretty sure from 2006 on, Doctor Who had an undefeated streak prior to
Game of
last
Thrones.
year.
And you thought Day of the Doctor would have actually won it out.
Yeah, it would have been nice.
It's the 50th anniversary. It's the best Doctor Who episode to date.
I voted to.
I think I did too.
Excellent.
And now we're losing it. Now we lose it to floppy wieners.
Hugo, stop with the testicles.
Okay, somebody take the mic away from me.
Time out for you.
He's drunk on power.
Before we start stemming from Doctor Who into Star Wars and officially start our
This is
first
my
tangent.
Well, we will have a Star Wars quote later on, but Matt, if you want to, could you try to find the BBC list of the new titles that were announced? So that was our next bit of news.
Yes, we got all of them.
Normally, if this was over Skype, I would have sent him a list of all of our news, and all of it would have been up on the screen. It's kind of difficult with one computer and very poor internet access, of course.
Cross your fingers, pray. I actually saw that list on the BBC's direct website.
Yeah, that's
BBC.co.uk/Doctor Who.
right.
And it took me to .com, despite the fact that I went to co.uk.
Yeah. Oh, that just means they've been updating their domains.
Right.
Thank you, BBC. I wonder if that means that the video on BBC.com will actually be internationally available.
Probably not, because the iPlayer is still for licensed payers.
Yeah, because
Although, interestingly enough, my antivirus offered me a paid program to fool it into thinking that I lived in Britain so I could watch it. I did not opt for that.
If I had the option of paying the BBC license here in the United States, I would be saying, shut up and take my money.
Do you know what the difference is between what was aired on the BBC now and what's going to be shown in theaters on Monday? Is there like
There's a prologue in the beginning. I believe it's featuring the Paternoster Gang.
yeah,
Okay.
Vastra, Jenny, and Strax.
There is also a behind the scenes, like a confidential type of thing that'll be airing afterward that I believe is supposed to also be exclusive, sort of like they did for the 50th anniversary.
Exclusive means it might come on the DVD when they actually make the DVD.
And I'm sure it'll be on YouTube within a week.
Yeah, because it's like a 2-hour episode.
It's a double lengther.
Yeah.
It's.
I have no idea what you're looking for here. I don't see anything.
Is it possible for him to go into Skype and look up that?
It might be. Yeah. Try click on Skype and see if it opens
without
up.
commercial breaks, it runs approximately 1.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So the average Doctor Who episode, at least according to the episode 42, is 42 minutes.
And then just click on the Unearthly Podcast chat. While he's doing that, there's been a few updates on this. We're going to cover it as one thing, which is essentially Germany did not end up doing a dub of Deep Breath. And from what I understand, they're not getting a dub of the season in general. They will be getting their episode in subtitles. The reason that they're giving, at least from the sources I've seen, for not getting the dub is that due to the leaks, they were not able to get the material on time, which I find very strange because when there's leaked material, they can get it just as easily as the public can.
I think what happened is following the leaks, there was a huge crackdown. So anything that was coming out after that got shut down.
I'm not seeing
You gotta
anything.
get sleep.
We've been up so early. So it was
I've been
nice
up for
meeting
days,
you.
but
Should we leave that one door open?
I don't know.
It was kind of loud out there before, yeah.
Doesn't seem that loud out there now, but whatever. I'm not seeing anything.
Go to the latest news. Up top.
But this has not been a good year for German Doctor Who fans. The actor that dubbed over the 10th Doctor in Germany died recently. I think that was after Day of the Doctor, but he will no longer be dubbing David Tennant. And now they have this issue, so they're not getting very good luck. Our next
There we
bit.
go.
Oh, we got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so episode 1, as stated, was
Is
Deep
Deep
Breath.
Breath.
Matt, you want to read those off since you're the one with quick access to them?
Into the Dalek,
Episode 2.
introducing Samuel Anderson as Danny Pink. Robot of Sherwood.
Robots of Sherwood.
Actually,
Robots.
Yeah, we had been discussing that at the panel earlier today. Everything that came out before said robots, whereas this link is saying just robots. So
it might be a typo.
it might be a typo, yeah.
It might be a typo, or they decided to rename it at the last minute. We'll know in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Listen. Time Heist. The Caretaker. Killed the Moon. Mummy on the Orient Express. Flatline. In the Forest of the Night. And 11 and 12, Dark Water, Death in Heaven.
You know, some of it, Kill the Moon, it's like, where they were getting from that, it's reminiscent of Let's Kill Hitler as far as the title. And Mummy on the Orient Express, I'm thinking somewhere in the Doctor Who production board, there's a couple of dartboards. And let's throw the dart, that's the monster. Let's throw the other dart, that's the location. Dinosaur, spaceship, Mummy,
They
or
decided to throw Robin Hood and then Agatha Christie in the season.
I thought Mummy on the Orient Express that had actually borrowed the title from there was something with a similar title.
Well, there's Murder on the Orient Express, so they could have been going for the pun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got that dinosaurs on a spaceship feel.
Yeah.
If we get down there and Capaldi actually says the line "Mummy" on the Orient Express, I'm going to groan. Just like I did when Matt Smith said "dinosaurs on a spaceship."
I know.
Yeah, that was groan-worthy, absolutely. Our next bit, Doctor Who Extra was announced, which essentially seems to be a version of what was previously Doctor Who Confidential, some behind-the-scenes information, except this will be apparently on, was it Red Button and iPlayer? I don't think it'll actually be airing on television. I'm sure that American fans will either have access to it on YouTube, the DVD, or something like that, but nothing official yet. And then I guess it's worth mentioning. Doctor Who Legacy, which is apparently a Facebook and mobile game that none of us have any familiarity with, apparently has recently had an expansion to bring in the 12th Doctor. So no idea what that's like, but if anybody listening is fans of that, then that'll be, then that's there now.
Okay.
And our final bit of news is that Peter Capaldi and Jenna Louise Coleman have addressed the rumors of Coleman leaving at the end of the season. As far as I know, this was mainly brought up by the Mirror that Clara would be leaving at the end of 2014. They're basically saying, we're neither going to confirm nor deny it. Watch the season and see what happens.
Yeah, their official statement is, we have no official statement.
Right.
And Coleman saying, this is fun.
Now they tried to say, oh, we don't even know if Coleman's going to make it through the whole season, but we do know that she has been signed on for the Christmas special, so she will be appearing in some form in the Christmas special. Whether or not she's in next season, we'll have to watch and find out.
Yeah, and the Mirror is not the most reliable of sources. It's like getting your news from the National Enquirer.
Exactly.
Every once in a while, they hit it out of the park, but they don't have the greatest batting average.
Yeah. And that's about it for news.
Okay.
So here we go into our normal episode summary.
Yep, just give me one moment to gear myself up for this. Summary time. Okay, so the episode started with, well, a dinosaur. A big dinosaur in the middle of 19th century London.
I'm assuming at some point Moffat wanted to name the episode Dinosaurs in London.
Wasn't there already an episode with that name?
The Dinosaur Invasion.
Dinosaur Invasion, that's right. So, and everybody is basically gawping at this, as you'd think they would, but you'd also think they'd be fleeing for their lives. Just saying.
No.
But instead they're going... And in the crowd is Vastra, Jenny, and Strax. Vastra remarks it's something she hasn't seen since she was a little girl. Jenny thinks they were not that large. Argument ensues. And then the dinosaur starts acting strange. And it basically hawks up a giant blue box loogie right onto the street. And yes, it's the TARDIS. A few color comments are made by the other people there. And the trio hurry down to the TARDIS, where the door, after getting pounded on by Strax, opens to a very bizarre, I would say, Capaldi. First saying, hush, and then noting he's trying to hide from the dinosaur. He comes out and basically acts strange for about 5 minutes, confusing Strax with all 7 of the dwarfs before deciding on Grumpy, mixing up names, and eventually passing out on the street. Opening trailer ensues, and the next thing we're dealing with is the Doctor arguing over why a person would have a bedroom. This argument goes on until eventually Vastra attempts the Vulcan mind meld with Peter Capaldi and knocks him unconscious. They decide what to do, and during the conversation, Clara says, "Is there any way to change him back?" And this sets off warning bells in Vastra and starts treating her very coolly. They go down and have a conversation about what happens, during which Vastra asks for Jenny to fetch her veil. While they're having this conversation, the Doctor, of course, wakes up, hearing the dinosaur yelling, and apparently able to speak dinosaur, though it's never explicitly stated, "I speak dinosaur now." Thank you. He then proceeds to, first of all, start to try to go out the door, but decides that's not him and goes out the window instead. Meanwhile, down in the what would you call that room? Kind of a conservatory, I guess. They have the conversation, and Vastra basically pushes the fact that that Clara is too freaked out about the change to care about the doctor now, and this sets off basically Clara rage. She goes off on Vastra for about a minute and a half, during which the veil disappears. And Vastra kind of says, well, I wondered what it would take to get you to act like that. And it's only after the conversation that Clara stops and asks, where did your veil go? And she replies, when you stopped needing to see it. They realize the doctor has gone off and start to follow. The doctor is trying to talk to the dinosaur, which is out in the road.
One correction: they don't realize that the doctor's gone until they meet up with him.
Okay.
They're just going to the same place independently.
I'm tired. I'm sorry. I watched the episode like twice tonight, but still, yeah. The doctor goes off and tries to communicate with the dinosaur, saying, yes, he's sorry. We got stuck, but I will bring you home. And the dinosaur bursts into flames. At this point, it's when Vastra realizes something's wrong when the pitch of the dinosaur whale changes, and they go out. They all kind of meet together after a few minor hijinks at the scene of basically dinosaur ash, and everybody wondering what's happening. The doctor has a better question, is why, when everyone's reacting to this, does one person not have a response? And it turns out to be a man who we had seen previously with a half-clockwork face and had basically DI'd a fellow passerby. The man basically walks off, and the doctor basically does the I'll take the case and goes after it. Unfortunately, Vastra, Jenny, and Clara are unable to follow due to the situation at hand, and they decide to basically follow the case themselves. This leads to the next morning with them hauling the TARDIS back to their location, as done by Strax, who is, of course, menial labor guy. Strax and Clara have a small conversation, after which Strax hurls a copy of the Times at Clara at point-blank range, at a decent throwing arm that probably hurt.
Should go flying backwards.
Strax and Clara have a bit of a conversation and a medical exam, after which Strax tells Clara to not worry about the doctor. He's probably already dead. We cut to the doctor in an alleyway, scurrying around, rummaging around stuff, looking like some kind of bum and filthy outfit, and he's being approached by a smelly, dirty hobo. Instead of what would normally happen, which would have left the doctor's bleeding corpse lying in an alleyway, the doctor manages to bewilder, confuse, and horrify this poor man
Yeah. Oh, God.
by exposing him to his attack eyebrows.
And his freshly on face.
Yeah.
It is during this conversation of sheer horror that the doctor realizes he's Scottish. And immediately goes from kind of a mild accent to a moderately thick Scottish brogue, and basically demands the guy's clothes. Yes, he actually almost goes, your clothes, give them to me. We next cut to Vastra and Jenny discussing the situation, which involves spontaneous human combustion that seems to have been happening in the area. Clara interrupts this conversation by coming in with a newspaper. I am abridging some of this. And noticing that there is a news article to The Impossible Girl, says the other side. After a little bit of amateur sleuthing, I realize the other side means the other side of the newspaper, which has an ad for a restaurant. Clara decides to go to the restaurant, thinking the message is from the doctor. She meets the doctor at the restaurant, but the doctor seems to think she sent the message. During the conversation, they realized neither one of them sent the message, and this was probably a trap. The doctor also realizes while there's many patrons in the restaurant, none of them are breathing. They stand to try to leave, and so do all of the patrons, with the whirring and clicking of gears. Realizing that this meant imminent threat to their life, they sit down again, where the maitre d' comes to take their order, by scanning them and listing out the wonderful body parts they have that would be useful. They are then trapped in their seats and hauled into the sub basement, where they find basically the clockwork version of a Borg cube would be the best thing I have, with everybody sitting in their little alcoves, and the boss, the half-faced clockwork man, resting at ease in James T. Kirk's chair. Doctor says, yes, he's on a recharge cycle, he's completely inert. They check him out, looking at all the detail. The doctor mentions there's something familiar about all this, but it's not clicking. And they decide that discretion is the better part of valor when the clockwork man starts moving. They get a little mixed on the way out, and it basically comes out with Capaldi on the escape side of the door, or the doctor on the escape side of the door, and Clara on the I'm about to die side of the door. The doctor first takes the sonic screwdriver, tries to get her out, but decides there's no chance that we'll be able to do this, and decides to leave Clara to her fate. Clara is instantly horrified, does remember the fact that the doctor mentioned that they can sense it when you breathe, and tries to escape by another way, by not breathing. Unfortunately, this leads to her getting into a corridor with even more men and her running out of breath, or running out of stored air. She is eventually forced to take a breath, where she is immediately captured by all these clockwork men and brought in for interrogation. Clara, during this process, has passed out and has flashbacks to when she first started teaching and threatened to expel a bunch of unruly class members, and one particular girl basically stood her off by saying, "Do it then." This gives Clara an idea shortly after, when the clockwork man starts interrogating her and says, "If you don't answer, you'll die, or I'll kill you." And she basically says, "Go ahead, try it." And manages to stall this conversation and start gleaming information from the man that he basically killed the dinosaur because he wanted about a half-inch of optic nerve, and that he's trying to reach the promised land. However, this is about all the information she's able to get before her bluff is starting to get called, and she reaches behind her, praying, hoping that the doctor's there, and hey, he is, having disguised himself as one of these other clockwork creatures. At which point, he proceeds to have Capaldi's first crowning moment of awesome by stopping the androids for a moment, getting Clara, and basically getting a good reveal on a good chunk of the plot. He then grabs Clara, and basically they say Geronimo, and in comes the rescue party of Vastra, Jenny, and Strax. Vastra, Jenny, Strax come down, big fight ensues. I'll let Hotel deal with that. Big fight ensues. At the end, the doctor winds up facing the clockwork man, and it is not really known for sure whether the doctor winds up pushing him out of a escaping pod, airship, or whether he winds up jumping. But in the end, the town is safe, the clockwork is ended, and after a little bit, it's discovered the doctor's gone, and the TARDIS is gone. After a while, Clara decides to dress in her original clothes, which results in the doctor showing up again in the TARDIS shortly thereafter, as kind of pre-warning. And that basically starts a conversation with Clara and the doctor that about his new self, and Clara's obviously still very uncertain about him. The doctor takes her home, or at least so he thinks, and right after that, Clara gets a call. The call is from the 11th Doctor, right before the end. That basically tells her that regardless of what she's thinking at the moment, this man is still going to be him, and he is probably his most scared that he's ever been, and that he needs her to take care of him. The doctor hears some of this call, or at least the other end of it, and remembers when he made this call, and after it asks her whether she can actually accept this and stay with him, and after a moment of looking at him and deciding, they hug, and they decide that the doctor will go and fetch some coffee. A few moments later, we cut to the Clockwork Man waking up. This was after we had last seen him impaled on one of the spires in London. He's in a terrace in a garden, it looks like, and there's a woman there asking basically welcoming him to what she's describing as the promised land, heaven, and that she's hoping that her boyfriend didn't hurt him too much. She seems to be a little off, I would say, and very psycho. And that is where the episode ends.
A little off, but very psycho.
Yes.
She reminded me of a psychopathic Mary Poppins waving around that umbrella.
He's been calling her evil Mary Poppins
yes, I said dark
some
Mary
time
Poppins, my friend. Yeah.
It's the second I saw the picture when they released her, I'm like, oh my god, it's evil Mary Poppins.
Yes. I can totally see her as some kind of reborn Ronnie or regenerated Ronnie. Maybe.
It's possible, but I think probably not.
I can't imagine the Ronnie ever referring to the doctor as her boyfriend for any reason.
Unless she went insane.
It's very very unnerving. It's not very psycho love relationship.
She could be an evil version of Romana.
That would be even more weird.
Romana's Valyard?
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to be seeing Time Lords popping in yet. The one thing that had crossed my mind is maybe this is a new incarnation version of the Black Guardian.
Oh, that could be.
That would be very interesting.
And this is some kind of bizarre, weird game that's going on. But again, this is
another dimension and everything else.
Yeah.
Again, though, that is purely speculative on my part. All we know is at this point she's basically psycho Mary Poppins. Just a spoonful of cyanide makes the medicine go down. So this is the part where we actually start discussing the episode and parts of it in detail and what we thought of it.
To start with, I'd say the pre-opening bit with the dinosaur, the doctor, and everything else. How do we feel there? I do say it's a classic bit of, post-regenerative crazy. I don't think we've seen post-regenerative amnesia to this state without an actual drug-addling occur.
Well, yeah, and this one's kind of weird because it's not showing the normal post-regenerative's failings, except for, of course, the passing out, which is kind of done more comedic than anything else.
Yeah. Although Clara does mention that it keeps happening, so presumably that's why the TARDIS was full of smoke.
Yes.
I also noticed that in the regeneration scene, usually they have, all the regeneration dust. I don't know what it's called, but it's more of a prolonged scene. And in this one, you see it for a few seconds, and then Peter Capaldi's character pops in right away.
I think part of that is because there was the big burst of energy before, where he blew up the Dalek fleet with all the regenerative energy, and then it paused for a few minutes and then continued.
Oh, you mean Deus Ex Regenera?
Yes, there you go. Yes, thank you.
Yes. I'm going to use all the energy and save the day with the power of my regeneration. And on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z... But yeah, I think they did that in deliberate stark contrast to the gradual ones we've seen. It worked on one level, and yet odd on another. I noticed that some people have made YouTube clips doing a proper morph. But at the same time, the starkness of it was a refreshing difference. The classic Who, no two regenerations were alike. And new Who, all regenerations are alike.
Yeah, pretty much.
But no, there's moments during the opening sequence, I think Bill mentioned it after our first watching of this, is I really miss the Mill.
Yeah.
The Mill was the CGI production group that did the Russell T Davies era special effects that made the greatest werewolf I have ever seen. And there's moments with the dinosaur where you're like, okay, that could have been better CGI.
Yeah, I kind of felt that sometimes like video game graphics more than...
I like the texture in that, but I thought that the movement was a bit stiff.
Yeah.
Kind of felt
I
like
thought
an
that a lot of the texturing it seemed like it was going the right direction, but it needed that extra step. Like, for example, the skin balloon was another one where it just really did not look like what it was supposed to be.
Yeah. It needed to be more patchy for one thing.
Right.
Yeah, that too.
You only knew what it was supposed to be because
they told you.
Conversation, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, you're like, what?
It looks like bubblegum. Got a lot of bubblegum.
And, of course, also with the opening sequence, we're immediately dealing with Vastra, Jenny, and Strax. And she's happy. I'm not as happy because this is after we were promised by Moffat that this would be a completely different Doctor Who. It's really not the greatest way to show that when your first episode of a completely different Doctor Who is all the same jokes we've been getting from this trio for the last 2-3 appearances. I know a lot
the hair joke, the boy joke.
Yeah. The thing is, I've been fed up with Strax for a while. They need to give him some hardcore character development because right now he is basically a one-joke pony. Strax has basically devolved from his original appearance, when I quite liked him. Dying did not help Strax.
Yeah, he hasn't mentioned lactic fluid in a while. That seemed to be a joke that caught on and never went anywhere.
And, when he was in A Good Man Goes to War, he was a fairly competent medic.
Yeah.
He got a few things wrong, but...
And he had a few different dimensions. He was a soldier, but he also took his new job seriously, even though it was a punishment.
Mm-hmm. And now he's Dr. Zoidberg. It's really a Flanderization of his character, and I just really don't like that. He needs to have some development to stop being such a one-note character and become a more full-fleshed character. Vastra and Jenny, on the other hand, have the issue that I call Moffat can't write gay people.
Although Vastra did get some characterization in here, which I know was an issue you didn't like, and I do agree with you to an extent. I think what he was doing was taking Vastra and making her more Sherlock, because obviously in Moffat's mind, Sherlock is based on Vastra, and I think he was adding some of the cold, antisocial behaviors that are associated with Sherlock Holmes to Vastra, and making her more, assumes the world revolves around her and everyone's in it for her benefit, which is where you get the issues with, treating her wife as a maid.
Yeah.
So therefore, Jenny becomes Watson, who of course deals with it.
Maybe, but again, that's never been a part of the arc I've liked.
Mm-hmm.
And again,
And that was never part of the character before, to my knowledge.
No, well, it actually was a little bit. Not in the first appearance, but by the second appearance, they started with the Sherlock references.
No, I mean in terms of Vastra being, considering herself superior to Jenny in any way, or acting like she was.
Well, at one part it makes sense because she's a Silurian, and they do that. But no, it's my problem is Moffat is writing Sherlock to an extent like it's Doctor Who, and is writing Doctor Who like it's Sherlock till eventually, if he kept this up, there would be no difference in the shows. And that's kind of part. And
Except one would be on Earth and one would be in space.
Most of the time. And that's kind of my issue, is the fact that, it's like he can't keep the two jobs that he has separate. So he's been adding characters to help him make it more and more the same. And Vastra I just kind of see as the extension of that.
Then of course there is the line about the Paternoster Irregulars, which of course they play on the Baker Street Irregulars. So just all the more reason to make them the same.
Yeah. And it's part of what gets on my nerves. If he wants to write Sherlock Holmes, go do Sherlock.
Right.
But I want Doctor Who. I'm not watching it to watch Doctor Who's Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
For that, we watch Tom Baker, The Hounds of Baskerville.
I've seen that. I quite liked it. But that's my main issue with them, is the fact that basically, Vastra's an XP of Sherlock Holmes as an alien female lizard thing. And Jenny is essentially Watson and her lesbian lover, and Moffat has issues writing both of them. So it immediately starts getting my teeth on edge. The Doctor's insanity prior to regeneration I thought was somewhat amusing, because a lot of that is, part of what makes the regenerations interesting.
One very minor issue that I have, and this is a story that brings it out, but I'm sure it's focused in others as well, is that he's, in a state of amnesia trying to remember things, and the first things he thinks of are human pop culture references. And that doesn't seem like it makes a whole lot of sense for someone who spent the first, several hundred years of his life on another planet and still associates as being a citizen of that planet.
Still, though, when was the last time he was on said planet for any serious length of time?
For the war.
We don't know how long he was actually on Gallifrey for during the war. We know the first part of the war, basically draft dodging.
If anything, he might make references to his time on Trenzalore. He might have flashbacks
Considering
to
that's
all the time that he spent on Trenzalore.
Considering that's 800 years of his life.
Which is why he thought that Clara was Handel's. He did spend more time with Handel's than he did with any other companion, really.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Romana.
Yeah, Romana's a big question mark on how long they spent together.
Well, he was, I think, 500... No, wait. I forget what the ages were, but I remember doing the math, and he had aged 200 years or so from meeting Romana to regenerating.
So he would have still spent more time with Handel's. Just saying.
I forget when it was that Handel's died.
It's still, I don't know, I can't remember.
Died being a relative term for a Cyberman head.
Okay.
Ceased functioning. It's an X-head. I will keep making dead parrot jokes all night long.
We can blame whoever did the signing for the convention.
Oh, man.
Are you kidding? Me having a chance to miss a Monty Python reference? It's just waving a red flag in front of me.
Making that joke all convention.
Yes, but I make that joke even when I'm not at this convention.
I don't recall it being brought up in the podcast much.
We've not. We've done a few of it. I think on Doctor Who deaths on occasion, but it's been rare. After all, if I keep telling the same joke all the time, it gets old. You listening, Moffat? Oh, okay.
Alright, by the way, we are at 2:38 right now, a.m.
Okay. Well, we've had a few issues.
Yeah.
But, yeah, a few things took a bit long. Yeah.
I don't even know if Matt's video
By the way,
is
that
actually
is
recording.
still on Eastern time, if that's what you're going
Yeah,
by.
it's on Eastern time.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's actually. I thought that was a fast hour. I'm like, what? What?
Yeah.
All right, 1:38.
I
Okay.
still want to derail with that too. How do you think it's morphing into Doctor Who?
I'm hearing most of that by hearsay. I cannot watch Sherlock. I've tried. I get about 15 minutes and I have to start doing something else.
I feel like I'm trying to remember the name of the episode, but the wedding episode, I feel like he was channeling Matt Smith. Like Matt Smith physically took over Benedict Cumberbatch's body.
That is true. I
For a
didn't
speech.
Feel like, I didn't feel like it was very Sherlockian behavior.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned Matt Smith, I can see the similarities.
Yeah.
And one of the things I had mentioned on with this episode coming up was that Moffat was basically writing into all of the things that are simple for him so he could focus on a new Doctor, and making it into a Sherlock episode featuring the Doctor is definitely a part of that.
I'm actually getting the feeling that Moffat's more interested in Sherlock than he is at Doctor Who at this
I
point.
think at this point he has more ideas for Sherlock left.
I really think he's burnt out on Who.
He has stated that he will keep doing Sherlock even after he is done with Doctor Who.
I think he's also made Moriarty into John Sims' master.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Evil for the lulls.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
That's
God.
pretty much what he is.
We were having this conversation. I was having this conversation with somebody. I don't remember if it was you. It's been a con. It's been blurry.
Right.
John Sims' master is the Joker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
free Joker like.
If you took,
Which Joker?
well, actually, what I was going to say,
Okay.
if you took John Sims and had cast him in the Nolan films,
Okay.
and you took Heath Ledger and cast him as the master, you probably would have had better movies and films. I'm just saying. I'm not knocking either particular productions. I'm just saying that I think the capabilities of those actors could have played the roles better than the people that they had gotten.
Why so serious, Doctor?
That said, I will still state, and I have stated before, and I will state again, I really wish they had done more with Derek Jacobi's master, because he was inspired, brilliant.
Why shouldn't Jacobi versus Eccleston, Sims versus Tennant?
Of course, I still say, bring back Tony Head and have him play the master.
That would be brilliant.
It would. The second I saw him in School Reunion, and I rewatched that episode.
Speaking of Tony Head, though, if whoever casts for Arrow and the Flash are listening, Professor Stein, Tony Head, make it happen.
That would be awesome. We could get on a whole tangent about that, but I'm going to actually try to step sideways on
For
that
those
one.
just wondering who. Tony. Ed.
Tony Head, a.k.a. Rupert Giles.
Yes, Anthony Stewart Head.
Images.
But when I saw School Reunion and I saw his portrayal, I'm like, God, that's a waste of a good actor, and he would have been such an awesome master.
I wouldn't even say a waste because he was a good character there, but he could have been. Yeah, there
he
could have
been
more.
a recurring character.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was why I was disappointed. Is I would have loved to see him as a recurring master, because it would have actually taken us back to the original I am the master and you will obey me Third Doctor era, where he was actually scary and not campy.
Mm-hmm. One of the few times where he was actually.
And yes, Anthony Stewart had just seemed to, in that particular role, he seemed to exude just
He was evil Rupert Giles.
Yes.
That's pretty much what he was.
Jumping towards the end of the episode when the Clockwork Man is talking to evil Mary Poppins, and she asks him if her boyfriend, made him jump or he was pushed out of the pod, and he doesn't answer. Do you think there is a reason why Moffat left that open-ended?
That seems to be the central tension of the season, whether the Doctor's a good man, whether he's the man who never would, and all of that. And that's part of the whole, darker, fiercer, madder thing.
Angrier, with eyebrows. Yes.
Yeah. So you do.
By the way, that is my favorite scene of the entire episode. Is the whole eyebrows scene is just I was.
The thing is, all the talk about the eyebrows just brings me back to how everyone was talking about in Day of the Doctor. They're like, and not Peter Capaldi. Everyone was like, and a cameo from Peter Capaldi's eyebrows.
Well, you wonder if Moffat saw that and just went, okay, we have to go with the eyebrow thing for when we're doing this. Yeah. Angry with eyebrows, yes.
Yeah, I feel like I think that's something that's going to be resolved in the finale, whether, whether the Doctor has gotten dark enough to the point where he would do that. And definitely past Doctors, if they really felt it was necessary enough, would have thrown him off. I don't know if 10 or 11 really would, because there's all the Time War guilt, but he's over the Time War guilt at this point, so...
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it seems to be, I think the overall theme is that there's going to be a line, and he is going to just keep getting closer and closer and closer to the line. Whether he's going to cross it is going to be the big question.
I think they're going to try to find a way of maybe possibly shoehorning some kind of Valyard turn. They won't bring back the Valyard exactly, but they'll try to.
The thing is, if they were going to do a Valyard plot, last Doctor would have been the perfect time for it.
Yeah, and Valyard is the one era of Doctor Who that all the production staff are there with the 20-foot pole going, no, ain't touching that, not touching that. It's almost as verboten as doing anything that's in the movie, which is only slightly more not touching that either. Otherwise, by now we would be referring to the Doctor as Dr. Spock by now, pretty much. A lot of the episode seems to follow pretty much standard Moffat fare. A lot of Moffat's little writing fetishes are in there, including the wonderful let's take human parts and graft them onto machines.
He's even going so far as being a sequel to...
That didn't remind me of The Girl in the Fireplace.
Well, that was.
And this was a sequel to The Girl in the Fireplace. They mentioned this is the sister ship to the Madame de Pompadour.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the Doctor doesn't quite make that connection because, one, it's been about 1,100 years for him since that happened, and two, as he said, his brain is still rebooting.
And he never actually knew the name of the ship.
True.
He left that episode going, I have no idea why they were doing that.
One would imagine he would eventually make the connection that we are the same, or whatever they said. She is
either that, or boom, he's on to the next thing.
True.
He doesn't worry about it after that because once the crisis is done, the Doctor moves on to the next thing.
Considering I think the next day he ended up in watching a new Cyberman invasion of a new world, he might have been a bit distracted.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a 9.5 on the Oshitometer.
So he might not have even remembered that happened.
Blimey, I'm in spare parts. Again! But yeah, it's, that's one of the things I keep seeing as a recurring part of Moffat's writing. And it's in here again. I don't like it when Moffat tries to write a homosexual relationship because he can't do it.
Right, and that's the thing. He tries to be progressive. He just doesn't have the, I don't know what's the right word, experience, the knowledge, whatever you want to say. He doesn't have what it takes to write these things, but at the same time, he's putting in the effort not to be, you know, writing a homogenous cast, which deserves that bit of effort, but he really ought to take a class on it.
He has a safety box of what he can write, and Doctor Who has been pushing him out of that box because he tried to follow Russell T Davies' footsteps.
Yeah, Moffat, it's not too late. I'm attending a panel tomorrow on including women and diverse characters. You should join me and attend the panel.
Yep, seriously, heck, I'll comp your badge.
Oh.
I'm not going to comp your plane fare, but I'll comp your badge.
He makes more than you do.
Yes, I know. I'll still comp his badge.
He could comp his plane fare.
Yeah, he's not that good at writing gay people. He's not that good at writing women. So naturally, he focuses a large amount of his energy on a group of gay women, or not a group, but whatever. What do you refer to a couple? I don't know. A couple doesn't necessarily mean married. I'm like, what do you call a, you know?
Herders, I
Yeah.
guess.
Like, no, I'm just saying.
Spouses?
No, I'm just like, you know, like a herd, a flock. Like, what do you call two married people other than a couple?
You call them married.
A flock of married. I don't know.
A ring.
A civil relationship.
Well, it's not even. I'm like they are. You know, they are spouses.
Yeah.
I get okay. Spouses. There we go. That's probably the word I should have used.
Yeah, I agree with that because every time I see Vastra and Jenny, I just those scenes really don't hold interest.
It's like consider.
They fall flat. Like the chemistry,
it's like
he's trying, but
consider
it's not.
in order to get across that they were married, he had to go for the oral sex joke in Good Man Goes to War. He really had no other way to get that across. Same with the other gay couple in that episode, which, you know, pretty much the only way to get that across was for them to not have names and refer to themselves as the gay married couple.
Yeah, that was. And how many gay couples will introduce themselves like that?
None.
And it's bad writing, Moffat. It's somewhat lazy writing.
He was missing. He was busy the day that Russell taught that.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Russell is really good at it because he's done that in several series.
Well,
he has a whole series about
Russell knows how gay people act because, you know, he's in a gay marriage.
Yes, I know this. I know this because he can draw on his life experience. Moffat doesn't have that life experience,
Right.
And that's his problem. He's a man. He's straight. And he's trying to write things that he's not personally familiar with.
And I can kind of see that because even when I write a gay couple, like there are sometimes I can write a gay couple and just be like, okay, other than the fact that they're gay, I can write them because they're just like any other couple. Sometimes, like if it's two very testosterone-driven characters and I don't know how they'd react in a couple, I'll turn to Facebook and ask some of my gay friends about it and get whatever feedback I need. I imagine he has that capability.
I don't
probably
know.
thinks he doesn't need to.
Yeah, he needs to. He needs to talk to people. He needs to get it hammered out because what he has is really more alienating than it is actually bringing in the demographics. There we go.
There wouldn't be the whole debate on whether or not he was a misogynist if he won. You know, if he actually was, it would be clear. But he just doesn't know how to make himself not look like it.
Well, and then we have the for this episode specifically, we have the promiscuity stereotype that's thrust upon a lot of gay couples and gay people. And we also have kind of misogyny of seeing a menage a trois with all women, attractive women.
Oh, you're just. I mean,
there is Basra is a lizard woman.
Yeah, and
I don't even want to think how that works.
Yeah, and I don't think that's really what he was going for. But again, poor writing. He was mainly going for, hey, you're another person who's here to serve me. You can help brighten up the room by adding another attractive thing for me to look at, and that's all that was going for.
That scene just set my teeth on edge.
It was, I can say it now because the episode is aired. I read the leaked scripts. It was worse in the script.
Yeah, because basically the way Moffat wrote it in the script was that Jenny was just standing there with a cloth covering her, R-rated bits.
Oh.
And, they added, and I'm not certain if that was his actual intent or if he was just assuming that everyone reading the script would know how a Victorian person being naked would include a large amount of undergarments, but
That was not
it didn't
how
come across well. And I remember when I was reading the script, that was the first thing I had to mention. I was like, really? Like, first we had in the 11th hour, the lingering on Amy's, posterior, and now we've got this. And like, that's not necessary.
Yeah.
And it's not that I enjoy looking at a woman as much as the next man, straight man, but there's a time and a place for it.
Right.
And Doctor Who is not always the time and place for it, whereas he often seems to think it is.
All right. So we've discussed that. We've discussed Moffat's writing habits. We've discussed the trio. All right. The Clockwork Men.
Why was he walking around with half a face when they mentioned that skin was the one resource that they did not constantly need to renew?
Because then you wouldn't know that he was a Clockwork Man.
And they never mentioned him having some kind of perception filter or anything. So how was it that he was able to walk around in a crowded Victorian London
By
street,
having half of his face in shadow.
And no one's
only
reacting.
camera shadow, not crowd shadow?
Well, it was shadow from that one guy he was talking to. Because I guess that guy has poor...
But, I mean, when you first see him, he's standing there on the roadside.
Right?
And I'm watching people go both directions on the camera going, I know his other face is this, How are they not going?
Well, they were busy looking at the dinosaur.
But even the reaction to the dinosaurs seemed so surreal. When I first was watching it, it's like, is the whole crowd bewitched or drugged because they're just, looking at it, but no one's freaking out. If a dinosaur came through my town, I'd be freaking out.
I'm thinking? There was I guess it was a meme inspired by Jurassic Park, the Holy Crap, It's a Dinosaur song. I think that should be played over that scene.
Yeah, I was expecting more of a... When I was reading the script, because I read the leaked scripts too, except for the last one. When I was reading the scripts, I was, expecting more of a Godzilla type reaction from the crowd. Like,
Right, exactly, yeah. People scaring for their lives and screaming, yeah.
How you feeling, Matt?
I cooled down.
And thus, we find out that Matt's camera has not been recording anything at all.
Please tell me it is. We've been having a good discussion.
Yeah.
No, it's still going.
Yes!
Okay.
Awesome! We have footage.
I'll say,
Which means, unfortunately, by the time that Moffat will actually get to see this, it will be too late for me to comp his badge.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I would have loved to have you here, but at the same time, it's probably for the best.
Yeah, he's...
Because it would be a reenaction of Bart and Homer from The Simpsons.
Don't!
Well, I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be a reenactment of Rejected with the silly hats.
I would just say take him into the
All of a
boffer
sudden,
room,
we
lock him
turn around and
in.
start clubbing the bats.
Take him into the boffer room, lock him in, and get all that aggression.
No, I know some of the people here that have access to music. They would see me, they would see him, and immediately the fight music from Star Trek would start playing. Da, 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 da.
Hell, you might have a living corpse.
Would that mean you'd both have your shirts conspicuously ripped off?
I think for the viewing of the con, I would say no.
You might have an outer layer though, so you can get that ripped
But
off.
I could hear our radio chatter on the staff radios now. Con ops to security, you all better get down here right now because Randy just saw Stephen Moffat.
And this is for Larry and Sally.
And this is not for going back to Amy and Rory. Smite.
Yeah, it's anybody that's been watching over our past several knows I've had a lot of venom spewed at Moffat in the last couple seasons, and it's not going away anytime soon. The second you announce when you're stepping down, it'll probably ease. But I mean, it's fun because you give me good episodes, but then you immediately lose my respect because the next episode you come out with is It's like a roller coaster of nice disappointment, and then
He's such a tease.
Oh, so since we talked about the Clockwork Guy, I've been waiting for about 2 hours or 2 or 3 hours to use this quote. You're more man now than machine, twisted and evil.
Twisted and evil. Yes. I did do that, and I actually came out trying to do that voice, and I came out sounding like George Takei. Wow, my voice impression thing has apparently taken a dive. It's rebooting now.
The moon now.
Hang on.
That was very.
Do not want system restore. Start normally. Okay.
Captain, we must go to Uranus and find out.
All right. I don't think we need to reenact that little bit. Matt and I have been working viewings, and we've had some very strange ideas over the course of no sleep.
They've both been.
Yes. This was just us BSing, working a shift at viewings, and Erin was doing her best to ignore us.
I think I was just falling asleep.
Yeah, it's possible. We will probably come to on Tuesday going, what the heck were we thinking?
Captain, I have found Vulcans. Oh,
But yeah, I liked
that one's had.
I liked Moffat returning to a one of his creations that was not a weeping angel.
Yes.
Moffat.
Although a Vashti Narada appearance would be nice.
Yes, I would love a Vashti Narada appearance. I'm kind of hoping for one in the future. As long as he actually takes the time to do it.
And doesn't give them 1,000 new powers.
Yes. Yes, the power curve on the Weeping Angels have made them completely kind of useless to me now as a monster. I will say it. I've said it before. I'll
really,
say it
at this
again.
point, the next time they appear, they pretty much have to be, in a time war against the Time Lords.
I mean, we've seen, Statue of Liberty Angel, which was full of wrong. There are so many ways it was wrong, and I'm pretty sure Moffat just did it because he saw a Facebook picture and went, that's cool, I'm doing that. Because apparently that's how he works. That's how he got his opening theme.
Yes.
Oh.
That's also how he came up with the giant steampunk Cyberman.
There needs to be an intervention, and someone needs to take the social media away.
Giant steampunk. Are you referring to the one that in the Davies, the giant Cybermen of the Davies era?
Was that Davies?
You're talking about the next Doctor?
The Cyber King?
Yes.
Yeah, that was
mildly
that was a Davies episode.
That was mildly infused from a picture with a steampunk Cyberman and a steampunk Dalek fighting each other. I believe.
Either way, we either need to take the social media away or introduce them both to Farmtown so that we'll never hear from them.
Steampunk Daleks. The Dalek mutants land in the Victorian era but have no access to any of their own technology.
They are going to do the next episode. Well, I mean, the Daleks.
Yes.
Not
Daleks.
steampunk, but Daleks.
No, yeah, it won't be steampunk.
Well,
I'm a little worried.
We'll see.
Well, it's written by someone who's mainly known for the Sarah Jane Adventures and Wizards vs. Aliens, so we can presume it'll be at least a semi-child focused but Doctor Who knowledgeable episode.
Yeah, and I actually need to take a look before next week's podcast at the specific writing credits for Sarah Jane Adventures. I watched all of those, and there were some really good episodes, and there were some not so good episodes.
I think he had written over 20 episodes each of both Sarah Jane and Wizards, but I might be wrong.
That's quite a track record.
I have not seen Wizards vs. Aliens. I
saw a couple of episodes of it. It was a pretty good for a kids show.
Yeah, it was the spiritual successor to Sarah Jane Adventures. It's what the production team went to after Elizabeth Sladen's unfortunate death. Why? I was watching, BBC America was doing the Doctor Who marathon. As I mentioned, I watched School Reunion. I cried through part of it. It still hurts me to this day that we lost her. And this was like 2 days after Robin Williams, the whole Robin Williams news was going on. And it's like, wow, while Robin Williams' death affected me, it's not hurting as much as watching this that happened 2 years ago is affecting me. And I think it's because the fact that Sarah Jane Elizabeth Sladen was still basically in her prime. She had a successful series she was in the middle of. She had a lot of work that she still wanted to accomplish and wasn't able to.
Yeah.
And that's why it still hurts so bad.
I'm trying to remember the last Robin Williams thing that I've seen him come out with.
He was in The Crazy Ones on CBS, but that had gotten canceled just a month or so prior.
I think the last Robin Williams movie that I've seen was Aladdin 3.
Was he actually in that? I thought
yeah,
they replaced
I didn't
the voice
even know.
He declined to appear in 2 because he was pissed off that they were supposed to keep him low-key in Aladdin, and instead they promoted the hell out of it. But he returned for the 3rd one.
Yeah, Aladdin was made when he was really trying to stay kind of under the radar for a while.
Or at least he was trying, or at least under the radar as far as that was concerned. Yeah.
I do remember. I
career.
recently Netflixed The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, which was done by Terry Gilliam, one of the Pythoners, and he's actually in there as the King of the Moon.
Yeah.
But he's not credited as being him. He's under a pseudonym.
Speaking of another one that he's under a pseudonym of, remember? We watched it last Christmas? A Wish for Wings That Work?
Oh, yes!
An albatross!
Yes.
She married an albatross!
Yes, Burt Breathitt's Bloom County animated Christmas special. He did a voice in there, and yeah, he was not credited. So, and that was all out about the same time.
And it was an obvious pseudonym. It was like anybody or any one man or something like that.
Yeah, it was. This was about the time he was trying to stay under the radar because he knew if his name was in it, it would quickly become Robin Williams special. You know.
Yeah.
He played a kiwi in that one, a flightless bird.
Wow, we've done this, and I think that's our first tangent that we didn't actually, stop before it became a thing. This, mind you, this is progress for us.
Yes.
We had actually had, if we'd had more time, would have actually had an active tangent counter on the screen.
Oh, wow.
Because
you kept it really good, actually.
Because we actually, yes, we've been known to go off on probably between 5 to 10 tangents on a podcast before. Usually it's about 2 or 3. But sometimes, and I think it's probably because we're really lackluster on an episode, we go way off topic.
Yeah. Especially if there's not a lot to talk about.
Okay, so getting back on track.
Rob Williams stand-ups good. Anyway.
We are stopping the tangent. Do not keep it going.
Black card lister.
Black card.
Yes.
All right, to go on a second tangent, we actually introduced you to Red Dwarf.
That's what we need to stop our tangents.
But yes, we've talked. We were talking about the Clockwork Men. Yes, I like having them back. I've wanted to have them back for a while, so it's good to see that. I don't think he did an over job of changing them too much.
No, it was. I mean, one concern we had was how to bring them back without it seeming like the same problem was happening to every ship in the fleet. Whereas this, I mean, it's still obviously a really messed up fleet, and hopefully they didn't make a lot of ships with those androids. But at least this one is a different situation. I mean, we're not sure how it ended up so far back in time, but.
And finally, in this episode of Doctor Who, the Doctor goes into the 50th century and introduces the shipyards to the 3 laws of robotics.
Perhaps becoming human. Change. Dramatic change. The robots becoming human. Maybe that's the way that they get into paradise. One of the things.
Possibly. I mean, it's obviously that somewhere in the millions of years that the Clockwork ship was crashed on Earth, and and all the Doctor's time travels to Earth in various eras, he apparently never noticed this, even though London is his favorite hangout. But it apparently found religion along the way.
Yes, because it kept on referring to the Promised Land.
One was that might have been a conscious effort by one of the Doctor's enemies, or possibly even she who appears to be the big bad of this season, as we've been calling her, Evil Mary Poppins.
Yes. And I'm looking forward and dreading what they're going to wind up doing with her.
Yeah.
I have some ideas based on the names of the episodes now that we have them all.
Mm-hmm.
And the name of the final episode is, what is it, Death?
Death in Heaven.
Yeah,
Death in Heaven.
right.
And that's what heaven refers to there. And
Yeah.
what I'm really hoping Moffat's not doing is going from...
Killing the doctor again?
Yes, going from for somewhere they meet and he rejects her and she goes from I love you to I kill you, and we get another season of heralding the doctor's death because you've not done this 3 times before.
If she kills him, then he goes to heaven and has to stay there.
But what happens if you're in heaven and you're killed?
That's Goku.
You disappear from that plane of existence.
Oh, jeez.
But technically, that was the
Haven't you seen Dragon Ball GT?
No, I haven't.
I think we might end up back
that goes in the bad place with the episode that shall not be named.
You might end up back at the on-ramp to Snake Way.
With Hans and Franz, yeah.
The Hans and Franz. We're going to do 50 push-ups.
Yeah.
Assuming that's an abridged reference.
Yes, it is.
And then 60 for thrust squats.
Anyway, it's just something I'm not hoping he's doing because it would be. I mean, if you've looked at since he's taken over. Series 5, TARDIS blows up. It's assumed that the Doctor would blow up with it. Not what happened, but still.
The Doctor does blow up with him and is resurrected by memories.
Yes. Series 6, we start with watching the Doctor die and dealing with that all through the entire series. And Series 7, we hear that the Doctor's final death place is in Trenzalore. We've got him. We've got you threatening to kill him enough. We have seen this. We've seen the story now. We know how it ends. He winds up living.
We saw this in the RTD era as well.
Not to the extent and not as repetitively.
Yeah, I feel like, Moffat is so agonizingly drawn out.
It's basically,
And what RTD did, he shot the Doctor, and the Doctor regenerated. There was no massive build-up.
No.
He shot the Doctor.
It's like, with most writers, you'll at least get enough together that, when you're handed a basket of fruit, you're handed a nice variety fruit basket. You've got your apples, you've got your oranges, you've got your grapes, and you've got your bananas.
A basket of oranges, a basket of apples.
And Moffat has basically gone...
And it's completely bananas.
Yeah, Moffat is completely bananas and is going, here's your basket of apples, here's your basket of apples, here's your basket of apples. I don't like apples!
I'm tired of the apples.
Yes.
That reminds me of the bagel situation upstairs.
Staff has been basically getting bagels every morning from the same place.
Inundated with bagels.
I could take a bagel.
With healthy bagels.
Would you like a bag or two?
Sure.
We're getting more tomorrow.
I don't know. Will I get stopped by security on my way out to the next
Just
on the
stop by
plane?
the door and we'll start handing you bags.
I'm saying, will I get stopped on my way to my plane on Monday morning?
Bagel police. Drop the bagel.
Say, what are you smuggling in all these bagels?
I don't know. What do you need?
Oh, before we make that a black card situation. So let's see. What have we not touched on?
Okay. The fact that he decided to make this a restaurant. I'm not sure what I feel about that, actually.
It's a good trap.
It was a good... the trap idea I liked.
And we know the police there are not entirely intelligent. They thought that a method of laying an egg was by vomiting a blue box out of your mouth. So I can believe that the police in this neighborhood did not catch this restaurant.
Yeah, apparently they're all the Keystone Cops are, like, right there.
But there's gotta be a better way of trapping more people. I guess you don't want too many to disappear, but at once.
Yeah, you'd think that...
You should have opened up a psychiatric clinic.
I mean, you know, they've been killing these people by spontaneous combustion, and that's what's been in the news. Meanwhile, we have Sweeney Todd going on here. You go in for a bite, and you lose parts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not thinking this is the kind of situation where anything they didn't use woke up in a tub of ice going, see doctor now. No. You're gone.
Then again, this is also the same neighborhood where, you know, the main private investigator tends to eat people after interrogating them.
Yeah, you'd think the police would notice that, too. And that was always the part of Vastra, by the way, that always has kind of horrified me a little. It's that she's doing this, she's outright killing these people, and the doctor's still going, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
This would not have flown in the Tennant era.
Yeah. I'm like, granted, I think all the people she's eating are like murderers and stuff.
It wouldn't
still
matter with Tennant. Because
Speaking of which, when she says, here we go again, that implies that Vastra might have actually originally been found by Tennant. Because that implies that she's seen him regenerate more than once by now.
Actually, that was Moffat quoting Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart.
That's a good. Okay, I remember that.
That was the exact line.
So all of my robot references were entirely on the mark.
Pretty much. Although that was technically the end of Planet of the Spiders. But yeah, I didn't catch that the first time I watched it. The second time I watched it.
But that pretty much says he's thinking of the same scene I am.
Yes. He's thinking of the third to fourth regeneration when he brought that line up. Either that or he looked through all the regeneration scenes for a throwout line. Okay. I would have found it to be even more amusing if it had not been Vastra that said that line, but if it had been a different script and it had been said by Kate Stewart. The irony of that would have been wow, but can't have everything. Where would you put it?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently in a
Speaking of which, I think this might have been a little nicer if there were. I mean, I'm trying to think of what references we had. We had, in terms of previous doctors, like most regenerations have.
Thank you. You brought up a beef.
Yeah.
So when he starts looking for clothes,
I know what you're going to talk about.
What's clothes? A scarf.
Yes.
And he goes, yeah, no, we're past that. It looked stupid.
And I don't mind that because every doctor has hated on its previous incarnation.
Yes.
But still, it's so iconic. It's like,
we're past that. I was fine with. It was it looked stupid add-on that was I thought was a little more mean-spirited than any other time they've done that.
Keep in mind,
considering what 6 had to say about 5, I think 4 got off light.
And considering that 5 unraveled the actual scarf.
Well, actually unraveled the leftovers from all the scarves that had been destroyed.
Yeah, but in story, it was the actual scarf.
Mm-hmm. But had a reason for doing so. But I just didn't like it because it was just such a side throwaway line that the only reason it was included was to be kind of a direct jab at the Fourth Doctor era.
I kind of think that it is a direct jab, but I also see it as kind of like a person throwing out old.
Yeah, like I see it as something completely fitting the Doctor's personality. You know, he's never had that much nice things to say about his past incarnations or their taste.
Like I said, I would have just been fine with we're past that. Or even it's not me, or it's a not me anymore would have been fine.
Haven't you ever done like an old shirt where you're like, wow, why did I buy that? That's stupid.
Not really. But no, we've seen the Doctor in later things come out in that outfit, and he'll have a comment on it, but it's never been that bad. It's like the Seventh Doctor came out with it, looked at it, and went,
hat.
"Old, yeah." And it just means
we had discussed that as to whether it was as bad or not.
yeah, and it's old hat basically means it basically means we're past that.
Right.
And so yeah, I'm fine with that bit. It was the direct. It looked stupid. Seemed a bit too negative. But maybe that's because he's trying to add a more negative edge to Capaldi. But I'm also worried about that because that takes us into Sixth Doctor territory.
Speaking, actually, that wanted to remind me because in this, I mean, it's been hinted at happening later in the season as well. But in this episode, we have both the Doctor and Strax making derogatory remarks about Clara's appearance in one way or another, and to an extent, people can take a joke, but for a show that is a family show, knowing the issues we have lately, I feel, there's only so much you can constantly criticize the appearance of, someone who's generally considered to be an attractive young woman without it having a negative impact somewhere down the line. It generally stops becoming, I know, Matt Smith had made a few remarks about that toward Amy in the past. Not Matt Smith, but his doctor. Mm-hmm. Now we have Capaldi's doctor doing that with Clara, and then we have, Strax isn't helping. Mm-hmm. So it becomes too much of a trend.
Yeah. When everybody's hating on your looks, it gets
right. And especially, it's not. Yeah, like it's. I'm not sure where I'm trying to go with that sentence, but there's no physical deformity. She's not. I don't think you could even consider her overweight.
The same time,
which is, an overweight person doesn't deserve that, but at least then there'd almost be something to justify, almost not quite justify, but almost.
May I counterpoint this actually?
Okay.
It just occurred to me, and it might be the part of the sleep deprivation, but near the end of the episode, he says, when he's back to himself, he goes, I need to make something clear. I'm not your boyfriend. And she says, I never thought you were. He says, you weren't the one making that mistake. Yeah. Now, factor this in with the comments he's been throwing out. Makes you wonder if he has a bit of the old Ron Masao Tomei foot and mouth syndrome, and basically deflecting any feelings he has by throwing out a negative comment instead.
I can see that, but I'm still going with too much becomes more mean-spirited on the behalf of the writer than anything else. I mean, Ranma, it was always clear where the joke lie, whereas here, it just being, it's funny to make fun of the female companion's appearance.
Yeah.
Pretty much stopped there.
He was purposefully rolling around with her naked then.
Yeah. Oh, you had to take us back there. Bill may have to walk off now.
See you later.
So
I was already planning to take a shower. Now I definitely will be.
That
every time we talk about that scene, I need to take a shower.
Yeah, when we reviewed that particular episode, that just made him feel dirty because he realized that yes, they spent a good chunk of that basically naked with holographic clothes, and some of the positions that you see aren't right, just not right. Oh, so wrong. But yeah, I'm thinking that's what Moffat's aiming at, though, is that he's attracted to her.
As we've mentioned, he's very good at aiming for decent targets and completely missing them.
On the next episode, Stephen Moffat will be taking those aiming lessons from Green Arrow.
Not a level ranger.
I'm trying hard not to make a reference because it's something I shouldn't know about.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Yes.
Okay.
If River Song was here.
Oh.
Actually, that was part of my plan. If there was anyone cosplaying as River in any of our panels, I would assign that person to the task of pointing out if we're going into too much spoiler territory.
Then again, that might have just sent me into just. Like any of the people on the podcast needs to hear my 45-minute river song rant again. I think I've done it 3 times now.
If the rumors are true and she appears in the finale, I'm sure we'll hear a new one.
I like the idea of River Song, but I don't like what they actually did with her in the show.
I like some of the ideas of River, but not the entirety of it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm a fanfic writer, editor. I have my little box of ways to detect a Mary Sue, and she has all the check marks. And that's all I'll say. I won't go into the more parts of it.
And there's also the fact that as a psychologist, or I should not a psychologist, but as someone who has a psychological interest and some psychological training, you actually look at their relationship and you're like, oh God, this is extremely unhealthy. They both need to get far away from each other. His love for her is essentially based on guilt, whereas hers is, essentially hero worship. And that's a really bad combination of things to build a relationship off of.
Yeah. I don't know what Moffat was thinking. I would like to think drugs were involved. And if so, could he mail some to me? But yeah.
If we were in the 80s, something horrible would have happened to River by now. I mean, even more horrible than Series 6.
There was one good thing that came out of Series 6, and that was Neil Gaiman. Thank you. Okay, back to this episode. Is there anything we have not covered? New TARDIS.
The deadlights.
Lots of round things.
Yeah.
Old man's chair.
Yeah, he's redecorated again, and I don't like it. When they introduced the TARDIS set in The Snowmen, I said that it was the most awesome TARDIS set I'd seen ever. I later revised it.
Yeah.
I later revised it that there are a couple of problems with that set, in that the gray, the uniform gray, made it feel a little too Star Trek movie.
That might have been part of why they relit it. I still prefer Sylvester McCoy's last TARDIS / Paul McGann's first.
Yeah, I don't mind the fact that they relit it. I just don't like their lighting choice. It was
essentially purple and yellow.
Yeah, I would have liked them to keep the original blue center console. That worked very well. It looked really nice. The red, I guess they're using red to reflect Capaldi's angrier personality.
Yeah, the darker
but
thing.
It makes it feel more like a Master's TARDIS than it does a Doctor's TARDIS. The bookcases, to an extent, I don't mind those, because it does give a more kind of lived-in feel. But considering how much the TARDIS shakes around these days, I wouldn't want those in the control room.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
Considering that the episode started with, the TARDIS smoking.
Yeah. I'm just saying, oh, we're out of control. I need a wham!
They're not real.
Doctor!
They're molded to the shelves.
And in the next episode, the Doctor gets amnesia because he gets hit in the head by a book.
And yeah, the old man chair bothers me.
Yep.
Because the rest of it had this sleek, futuristic look.
And you just have this random chair in the corner.
He pulled that chair out of his old, out of the one that I described. He went back and found, it's probably not the same chair, but if you look at it, it's probably different, but the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
It was an easy chair for reading your H.G. Wells novel with a cup of tea.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that one wasn't overstuffed. This one looked more like a lazy boy.
Yeah.
And unless it qualifies as the lazy boy of doom and has weaponry involved, and it says it's the Doctor, it wouldn't.
Well, see, it's a torture device so that he can keep his stay on edge, so he can be ready for any situation. So he sits in the diabolical torture device known as the comfy chair.
That's actually what he has his standing power naps in. And he just happens to take 17 of them in a row. I can just see that. That should be the beginning of an episode. Him lying in the chair. And Clara walks in going, really? Power naps, Doctor? Really? But yeah, some of the stuff I like about the new TARDIS, but a lot of it I don't like. Some of the lighting, though, just really bothers me.
As long as this one doesn't have fuel rods.
No fuel rods, ever. No.
Oh,
Oh, God. You had to mention that episode. The only episode worse is the episode that shan't be named. And I still refuse to refer to it as an episode, as it was outside. It was post 89, pre 96, made for a special.
Dimensions of Time.
You seem like you wanted it.
I need to know.
Thank you, because he's been threatening the past 2 weeks that if I brought it up on this convention, I'd get a kick.
I can't hit her.
I think we should watch that next.
No.
I watched on my own.
Although it almost came up in our podcast earlier today because we were counting multi-doctor specials and I wasn't sure what he was counting.
Yeah. Then I would have had to, right there on that panel, kick you in the dick.
Are we moving on to final thoughts?
Yes, at this point we are, because the TARDIS was...
And right about there is where the camera footage ended for that night. For those of you who don't know, I had to step out temporarily, but quite possibly due to the fact that I had become ill to lack of water or something else of the like. It took a few moments, but I eventually did pull myself together and came back for the ending of the show. As for our final thoughts on the episode itself, to put simply, for every good thing that we saw, there was a couple of tiny bad things we also saw. So in retrospect, not only for Randy, Bill, Aaron, and myself, but our viewers that were there live, as well as Tim, which will be in the upcoming episode, we have all agreed, every one of us, that it's a very middle-of-the-road episode. It was a 3 out of 5, essentially. And there has been no debate on that. There's literally been no debate on the averageness of this particular episode. It's important to see because it is the first episode with Capaldi now. But so far, most of us would actually argue that the next episode might be a little bit better. But that is for next time. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have enjoyed seeing us live and together, all of us, for the first time, actually. This is the first time Aaron, Randy, and myself have actually seen Bill face to face. The only time we've interacted with Bill has been by voice or over recorded camera footage. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all